getting hit multiple times coming out of that bike section. More drivers coming to blows.
Well, hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back here to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors. This is round number 6 of the season, coming to you today from Laguna, Seca. My name is Ron Maunz. Alongside me in the commentary booth is Charles Boshell. Guido Marzucchi is our producer for today's broadcast. Well, Charles, it has been about 15,000 years since we saw a race here at Laguna. It has been such a long time, I can't even remember how this track looks like or how the name was pronounced. I hope I got it right in the broadcast intro. Back-to-back, a doubleheader here in the Weekend Warriors. Some of the drivers that we saw in the FFs running here in the SRFs, but overall, it is just such a completely different challenge than the race some of these racers just competed in a matter of an hour ago.
Yeah, it's pretty much a little bit of the same thing. Obviously, different car here with the Spec Racer versus the Formula Ford. So you know, each car has its own pros and cons. So you know, the drivers that end up doing the double, always, it just amazes me how you can switch your brain like that in such a short amount of time and still put out some really quick laps. But it's going to be a good race. Obviously, these cars are a bit wider. It's going to make some of those passing zones that we talked about in the previous race even that much more difficult. And of course, we'll talk about our breakfast food there coming out of the corkscrew a little bit later, I'm sure.
Corkscrew Crunch. I think that is the best brand name that has ever been conceived by man, and it came to my head in a dream. But we're going to take a look at the championship point standings heading into this 6th round of the championship. We've already had some pretty good races to keep it going here, but we look at Spec 1 first, where Marco Pinero leads 5 points. Only 5 points is a gap to himself and Felix Samoa's in P2, 463 for Pinero compared to Samoa's 458. Kane Lasky, our slow motion broadcasting colleague, slotted in P3. Reigning Spec 2 champion Eric Luke is in 4th with Jason Green, rounding out the top 5 in that category. Still pretty open there when it comes to that class, but of course those front two trying to break away. We take a look now at Spec 2, where it's been the consistent game for Dirk Braun to give him the championship points lead heading into this race. He's off the back of a win last time out at Jerez, and looking to keep that momentum rolling here into Laguna Seca. He leads over Mr. Joshua Wilkie in P number 2, Andrew Love in 3rd, Matt Thompson in 4th, with Leonard Geese honking his way up inside of the top 5. So that's how it looks in Spec 2. And one more class to take a look at, that being the Masters category, where Antonio Reese leads over Jeff Fritcher, slotted in 2nd. Tom Gradwell, Brad Cathcart, Adam Bradshaw, Jim Brewster, Jörg Monty, Kurt Nunez, and Charlie Vaccaro round out your field in that Masters category. Reese holding on to a good gap as it stands right now. He got 3 wins in a row, stretching from race number 2 at the Red Bull Ring all the way through to race number 4 at Lime Rock. So he's pretty quick. There's a big door open for him to try and win that championship. And of course, with the door, we need the keys.
Absolutely. Stop me if you've seen this before. But the keys to the race, very similar. As a matter of fact, identical to what we had for our Formula Ford race. You got to watch out for that corkscrew crunch. The debris playing a little bit of a role here. It's going to be problems, especially in the apex, and then you're trying to get back on the throttle. You're going to have some issues, as we saw there with Jörg Monty, which you can't see. Make smart choices on where to pass. We talked about that. The kink, not a good place to pass. The corkscrew, not a good place to pass. There's plenty of good hard braking opportunities on this track for you to make moves, and some good wide sections to where you can to work around some other cars using what little bit of draft you're going to get for today. And then finally, lots of time to be gained and lost in the pits. We saw it where the winner, Mr. Tufts there, and in the previous race, able to make a very much quicker pit stop, and on the end part, pit in and pit out. That was the key to him winning that race by just under a second. So that could be it could play another role in this race as well.
And I have a feeling that here in the Spec Racer Fords, you usually see that that strategy game play a bit more of a role in deciding who's going to grab the checkered flag here in this race. But here is Jason Green as he heads his way out of the final corner, and we'll do an on-board lap with him, cresting his way up the hill, under the bridge, into turn number 1. Yes, this is turn number 1, and Andretti hairpin coming up is technically turn number 2. Thank you, Motorcycles, for that. There's Green into 2, trying to use as much of that small little patch of asphalt on the outside as he can to sweep the car in, keep that momentum rolling, and kiss those curbs as much as he dares. Now into turn number 3, bit of a crackle of oversteer through there, gets a little bit dangerous with that anti-cut curb on the inside. The red curbs, about as big of a red flag as you can get here around this racetrack. That's turn number 4, definitely a challenge. We saw that catch out racers in the FS, won't be too shocked if it catches some out here in the SRFs. Here's turn number 5, another very challenging bend around this track. I talked about some of my woes heading off through there, and whether it be off tracks or just a slow run through there, it can be costly, because outside this kink here of turn number 6, where you're pretty much buffeting at the exact same speed, you gotta keep that momentum rolling, heading up the rail straightaway, up into the corkscrew. Turn number 8 around this racetrack, the premier overtaking opportunity, and let's see, as he heads his way off through there, you can see and feel that car start to slide around the track. At least I certainly can. Just feel that back end have a mind of its own. zone. That's turn number 9 of Rainy Curve. Here's turn number 10, the second to last turn around this racetrack. Only way that it's excusable to run wide coming out there is if you're going to be making that beeline call to come down pit lane. Now into the hairpin, turn number 11. Maybe a bit of a trouble spot at the start of this race for the drivers, a little bit farther in the back of this absolutely packed grid here tonight. But that is your lap here at Laguna Seca. A rather hectic one here in these SRFs.
Yeah, absolutely. It is indeed. These cars obviously want to kind of squirm around the track a little bit, have a lot more understeer, I think, than the Formula Fords that we saw earlier. We like to kind of oversteer a little bit, but Jason did a good job there keeping the car underneath him and is sitting 5th in the qualifying time thus far. Not to see, I think, a returning Maurizio Naselli up there battling for that pole. It said it was on pole for briefly, and then Marco Pinheiro, who I think was right behind him, managed to take that again by 3.5 tenths of a second. So good to see Maurizio out there. Always a very, very fast driver. We saw him was Mr. Back to Front for a full season, where he was just starting the back and make 50 passes during the race, and was just having fun out there. But when he sets his mind to qualifying, he's going to be up near the top, and he's going to really, really challenge for the race win.
Rise to the top and be the creme de la creme here at Laguna Seca. Tip into the wall. There we go. That's Scott Russell proving the challenges of the corkscrew. Doesn't matter what kind of car you're running here. It could be a Spec Racer Ford, could be a Formula Ford, could be a Formula V. I mean, I'm not sure if you'd have the exact same problems running around here in a dirt late model car, but I still feel like the run through the corkscrew, just feeling the track fall away from you and feel the grip fall away from you as well. I can see it. I get such an uneasy feeling looking at these racers heading off through that section of the track, and that more or less proved it there. We follow Josh Soto, currently qualified P14 right now. He was the winner last week, not in the Spec Racer Fords, but in the Formula Fords. It was at Road Atlanta where he was able to get the job done there. He is not top at the moment here in qualifying. Marco Pinheiro is a 133.197 for him. Naselli still slotted in P2. Pinheiro improves to a 133.102, so small little incremental gain for the driver of the number 16, but increasing that grip on that pole position. Here's your Spec 2 pole man. Right now it's Dirk Braun, the driver of the 525, looking to keep that momentum rolling in that category, currently holding on to a P16, your qualifier right now. And Jeff Fritcher, the top of the Masters competitors as it stands right now, 10 in front of this driver of Matt Thompson. Fritcher qualified in P7, pretty good result. I will say here, Charles, I think we are seeing a bit more of a divide in terms of our classes compared to what we usually see.
I think that we see this from time to time on certain tracks. I wouldn't expect Laguna Seca to be one of those because it is, obviously iRacing based content. You run this track a lot. They run it in, virtually every class. And so you would think that you would have some Spec 2 drivers that would move up a bit, but no, the highest one is Dirk Braun in P16, but then almost the entire Spec 2 field is sitting right there behind him, very tight as far as their qualifying times. So you're seeing a lot of the Spec 1 and the Masters drivers kind of rising to the top, and then the Spec 2s down below, which kind of makes sense. But we usually have a couple of Spec 2 drivers that kind of that will step out a little bit and kind of rise to the top. And we still have a little bit of time. I think we can get 1 or 2 more laps. So this may be the last flying lap for a lot of these cars, unless you're coming across the start-finish line within the next 20 seconds or so.
Yeah, so certainly in crunch time here, and this is usually when we expect to see those top times. The fuel has been burnt off, these cars weighing light as a feather, and we'll finally start to see these racers really begin to shift some gears, expecting a big gain, hopefully, out of Elias Pleva here at the end of this qualifying session. Currently qualified in P26. Not a good run for him at all here in this qualifying session. A usual top contender in the Spec 1 category, just not seeing that at all here, but he does have one more lap as the checkered flag is out. They're going to see everybody else make that call to come down pit lane. Peterson and Rocha being tailed right behind there by a driver with a wild off-track moment coming out of turn number 10. But these final laps about to get set as Antonio Reese going to round his way into turn number 10. Set a personal best in sector 1, rather yellow through the middle. Let's see what he'll be able to do here in the final sector as he heads his way in through the final corner. Antonio Reese, currently qualified in P13, would need a significant gain of about a half a second to jump into the pole in the Masters category. As he comes to the line, it will not be too big of an improvement there from Antonio Reese. He remains in P13, not improving on that time. So it looks like Jeff Fritcher holding on to that for now. Dirk Braun going to improve to 134.321, and 1-2-3 he moves up to 1-3. P13 for the driver of the 525 car. And waiting now for Jorg Mani as he heads his way through turn number 9. Will it be an improvement from him? Looking at sectors, not very good in the first 3, but in the 4th he improves for a personal best. This may be a slight gain from Mani, but he runs wide at turn number 10, and he's going to abort on that time, so no gain from him. Jason Green, he's out there on the racetrack, but not very good through the first 2 sectors. I think he may wave off this lap as well. Eric Luke with a meatball flag, so he must have had some challenges as well, but looking good for Marco Pinero. Doesn't look like anybody's going to challenge the Italian.
No, it looks like Pinero is going to take the pole, which not surprising because it's Marco and he's just a wizard in these cars. And but we always kind of talk about that 1 second gap back, and it's only eight cars within 1 second of pole. But if you flip that, you've got 23 cars within 2 seconds of pole. So I think the mid-pack battle is going to be pretty intense today. We will have a few cars up at the front battling for the overall win, but that mid-pack may be fun to watch.
Yeah, that mid-pack is going to be very fun to keep our eyes on throughout this race. That run-up into the Andretti hairpin at turn number 2, really the entirety of the opening stages of these races here. Going to be, I would say, a mix between concerning and terrifying. Kind of a blend of the two. As we click over into the race here, it's Marco Pole O for him at the moment. Marco Pinero going to start this race from the pole. That may have been the cheesiest thing that's come out of my mouth in quite some time, but he will start this race at the front. Maurizio Nazelli going to join him on the front row. It'll be Felix Samoas starting this race in 3rd, Kane Lasky in 4th. Eric Luke will start in P5. Next to him will be Jason Green. It's Jeff Fritcher grabbing the Masters pole, starting this race from 7th. Jason Perry going to join him on the 4th row. It'll be Tom Gradwell qualifying for this race in 9th, with Scott Russell rounding out your top 10. Yeah,
starting in 11th is going to be Joaquin Osbeck. Josh Justice starts in 12th. Dirk Braun, our pole sitter for Spec 2, starting in 13th. Antonio Reese starting in 14th. Josh Soto, 15th. Jorg Mani in 16th. Matt Thompson and Phil Berry, row 9, Spec 2 row, as well as row 10, Peterson Rocha and Paul Jackson round out your top 20. And then the rest of the field, Adam Bradshaw 21st, Josh Wilkie 22nd, Leonard Geeson 23rd, Sean McStay in 24th, Mario Krimzer in 25th, Alice Pleva in 26th, Michele Vellini in 27th, Andrea Favini in 28th, Matthew Merces in 29th, and Kurt Nunez rounds out your 30-car field.
So those are your starters for this race. Kurt Nunez, your winner in the Masters category the last time out. Not going to have the best of starting spots here. But, honestly, Charles, I feel like starting at the back, it is not a death sentence here in this race, because that mid portion of the field, especially in that run-up into turn number 2, that's probably going to be the most hair-raising spot to be at all throughout this entire racetrack. The front's probably going to be fairly clean. The back's going to be fairly clean. The mid pack is going to be it's going to be dog eat dog. It's going to be really, really tough battling from the start all the way to the end. And so, the best thing is hopefully we'll all get out here. We'll get our tires warmed up. We'll get single file for the most part. And then people can start making some moves, and once the tires and the brakes are up to the proper temperature, and we'll end up having a nice clean race. Obviously, 30-car grid is a pretty good sized grid for the Spec Racer, and of course 40-minute race, which means we will have a pit stop
somewhere amongst this, probably starting around minute 12, ending around minute 32 or so. I think is what we saw from the Formula Fords. These are very similar to that. So that's going to be kind of our pit window. Obviously, no Stevie Ray today, so we won't have our perennials pit starter today, as we're on board here with Matthew Mercedes in P29. Looks like Kurt didn't take the start of the race, so Nunez looks like he might have just disconnected. Don't see him out there. If nothing else, it's going to be a pit start for him. So we'll watch the back of the field and see if there's any drama, as well as everybody else. So we'll just kind of get everything warmed up here, and then we'll go racing.
Get everything warmed up, ready to rock and roll here for round number 6 of the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors here at Laguna Seca. We have an awesome schedule here for season number 3 across the entirety of the Weekend Warriors world, but just looking through the likes of Sebring, Oran Park, Magny-Cours, Road America, Long Beach, and Navarra to follow between now and the end of the season, set to wrap up on September the 7th of 2025 here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. You'll be able to tune into all of the action week in and week out here on SMB. Gives you a good reason to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the racing action, which is going to be intense here at Laguna. Got that pit strategy, you got that run up into turn number 2. Lots of pitfalls for these racers to potentially fall into. You just need to keep a keen eye and make sure you don't walk into a vast yawning sinkhole in the middle of the earth as the green flag is out and the drivers are on their way. A good start there from Marco Pinero. Gonna try and lead him off comfortably into turn number 1. Side-by-side racing, a flare-up between Samoas and Nazelli. The two veterans duking it out down into turn number 2. Nazelli gonna look to try and keep the momentum rolling on the high side, but as they head their way down into the hairpin for the very first time, driver going side-by-side, 3 wide, a little bit farther in the back. Really no expensive spared when it comes to trying to battle hard. That's Antonio Reese trying to get some moves done as well. Rather formulaic start here for now, keyword being for now, as they head their way off into turn number 4 for the first time.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had a couple of Josh Wilkie up 4 positions early, but no real drops off. Everybody was kept it on the track. Only a couple off tracks during that whole sequence. So well done by everybody there to get this race started cleanly.
Yeah, so very well played from all of these racers, but as they head their way down to the corkscrew in a couple of moments, I say down into the corkscrew, up into the corkscrew. That will be when we may start to see the elbows get broken out and these drivers start to get a little bit physical. That's blinking in and out badly there from Scott Russell. He hit 88 miles an hour and sent himself back to the era of the dinosaurs as we had our way off through there. Some dust getting kicked up. Enjoy the view of the corkscrew without a disgusting, gross amount of gravel around there, because it is a very rare sight that we're going to see here this evening. Russell blinking in and out yet again. The Martians have arrived.
Yeah, basically, after the first lap, there's going to be trash on the tarmac there coming down the corkscrew. That 5-story drop is very difficult. And I think I figured it out. I think these cars, they're just Porsches. They're just rear engine cars, rear wheel drive, and all the weight's in the back. So those downhill braking zones are very, very difficult for these cars. You'll see lots of front lockups, just trying to get these cars slowed down. And then when you're on that downhill side-to-side motion the corkscrew has, makes that rear end just want to come around to the front.
Whenever I think of Porsches, I think of a bad experience I had nearly getting hit by a woman at a Porsche Cayenne, but that's neither here nor there. Marco Pinero continues to lead over Maurizio Nazelli, about a half a second the gap between those racers, as that I think may have been some bad stuff for Eric Luke. He's gone off the track down into turn number 5. A big moment for him. He skidded off the track a big time. I figured it was something going on, something going awry for the driver of the number 79 machine, and I think my instinct may have been right. It was some close quarters side-by-side racing down into the turn, and it ends poorly. May need to load up a replay here as soon as to figure out what happened to the American. He heads his way down in here. He got Jason Green running right behind and Kane Lasky right in front, and I think he just overcooked it into the turn. Yep. He did.
He did indeed, and then slid and managed to keep it off the tire barrier, so that's good. But yeah, just too much speed down into 5, and cooks it all the way off to the track. Luckily, the off-track physics now work, so you get into the grass and the gravel, and it actually slows you down, which is what it's supposed to do. keeps him off the wall. So he's got a hole to climb out of now. But Eric, obviously, reigning Spec 2 champ, very, very fast driver, running in Spec 1 now. So if anybody can make some positions up, it will be him.
As one driver that got slowed down by the gravel was your current Masters leader of Jeff Fritcher. He's now, that's a moment for Matt Thompson down into turn number 2. More drama going on. That's Leonard Geese around in the 527. He spins out of the turn. Not sure whether he had some sort of assistance. My eyes were caught at the time by that nearly going off the track car of Matt Thompson. So I'll have to load up a replay to see what sort of drama went on involving Geese. You can see that lockup from Thompson. And yeah, just around he goes.
Yeah.
Simple mistake to make, an easy one to be sure. And look at Matt Thompson; those two nearly touched.
Yeah, that was close, but I think Thompson obviously overcooked it into the corner. Geese, I think, probably was a little too fast, but got it under control. But I think maybe just kind of heated the rear tires up too much as he was getting back on throttle and just lost the rear and looped it around. But hey, nobody made contact, so that's good. We can all continue racing.
Still running in the early stages of this event. 5.5 minutes. We're not even at 5.5 minutes. We're at 4.5 minutes. So subtract 1 from what I just said a couple of moments ago. Still early doors. We'll say a driver that's gone off to a pretty good start is Dirk Braun. We follow him right now in the 12th spot. Right now, got Jörg Monty in that Popeyes car right behind. He's hoping to crack open a can of spinach to try and make his way up into the top 12. As you can see, that California corkscrew crunch on the outside of the final turn. The gravel is here, and it's going to turn certain parts of this track into a rally stage.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to make your job just a little more difficult as you're going to lose a little braking performance, a little turning performance. As we see contact there, that was is that Josh Wilkie and Eric Luke making contact with each other there as they're battling for P16, or is that somebody else? It's Soto. Oh, it's Josh Soto. Okay. So I saw that Eric had a very similar livery. So just miscalled that a little bit, but yeah, contact made as we're having a battle there in the mid pack, which is what we expected.
As we take a look at a moment involving Mario Kremser, he runs wide coming out turn number 6 off into the gravel and tries to get that car righted back in the right direction. There's been plenty of people, both in real life and in the sim, to take a trip into that gravel trap. I've been there and done that many, many times in sim, that is. Yeah, I barely make enough money to afford Greek yogurt, let alone a real life racing career, as that's Michele Viglini with a moment through into turn number 3, loops it around and tries to get spun back around the right direction. The problem is with these Spec Racer Fords, as much as I barely make enough money to afford Greek yogurt, these cars barely have enough power to spin the wheels, so not able to get spun back around the right direction. As Jason Perry has a moment of his own, nearly, wowzers.
So we've seen the kink at its best. We saw Kremser going wide, carrying too much speed off in the dirt. We saw Jason Perry there catching that anti-cut curb and launching the car. It's just very difficult to control. The one we haven't seen yet is the outside end, where you carry too much speed and you end up looping and hitting the inside wall. That's probably coming in short order. Hopefully I won't jinx anybody. As we're back here with this battle with Rocha, Thompson, Josh Wilkie. Josh dropped a couple positions there, I think, due to that battle he had earlier. So he's back down in P22. But he's got to fight on with these other Spec 2 cars, and so that Spec 2 battle is really, really hot.
Yeah, it is rather intense at the moment. We were thinking that Spec 2 fight was going to be a close one, and it certainly is. Look at the gravel. They head their way out of turn number 6, just absolutely peppered on that outside line. As, that is a very sad-looking Spec Racer Ford for Paul Jackson. Looks like a discarded Coke can as he heads his way down into turn at number 5. For sponsorship sakes, we will say that other sodas are available if you would like to use that phrase anymore. But Paul Jackson dropping down to P28 as it stands right now. The last of the cars really running close to the front, as Michele Viglini with some moments is currently sliding down in 29th, about 20 seconds off of Paul Jackson right now. But we look at these racers and we look at one who's slowly but surely checking out, Marco Pinero, building out to a 1.6 second lead, saying fastest lap after fastest lap last time by, a 133.8, and his gap is growing because these drivers are racing hard. That's Nazeli, Samoas, and Lasky giving us a battle. Look at Samoas muscling his way through in turn 2.
Wow, that was a nice little over-under move there, and you see the little elbow. Oh, and there's contact there, and luckily the secondary contact there rights Samoa's back, but obviously he's going to have a little damage on his car now. It's going to drop down to P4. Lasky gets through, and the Naselli battle there. Naselli wins that round, but I don't think that battle is over just yet.
He won the battle, but the war is still far from over. That's exactly what we're going to be seeing throughout this race. I'm just keeping my fingers crossed that I'll be able to get my sunglasses on before the bombs start to drop. Naselli is now getting tailed by Kane Lasky. You can see the gravel on the outside of turn number 6. It looks like a galaxy sort of like background that you'd see in the background of some sort of science documentary on the Natural History Channel. That's a huge amount of gravel on the outside of turn number 6. Everybody having off-track moments through there. And I have a feeling it'll probably get even worse come time for the end of this race, but Naselli and Lasky trying to break away from Felix Samoas. We've seen moments in the past with Naselli and Samoas, veterans of this series, but they're not immune to breaking the elbows out and really starting to get racy with each other. Kane Lasky, on the other hand, he's looking to try and launch himself into championship contention, so I think he'll be happy if those two can really start throwing haymakers at each other and potentially drag themselves off the track.
Yeah, I just Kane does not want to get involved in their scuffle, so he'll do his best to try to avoid that. And because he is looking at championship points here, still up in contention for the championship. Obviously, they got a little bit of work to do. Pinero's starting to stretch that gap as these guys are fighting amongst themselves. So you don't want to give Pinero a 3-second lead because it's going to be really hard to track him down.
Yeah, giving Marco Pinero a 10-second lead in a race like this is, I could best compare it as giving a gun to a bear. That's basically what you've got right now. So Marco Pinero trying to hold on to any sort of time that he can gain and continues to set quick lap after quick lap. He's pretty much in qualifying mode right now to drive the number 16, virtually completely checked out. I will ask a quick question if we could potentially load up the track map, because I do want to see if we may have some lap traffic involved in this battle here in the not too far off future, because we have had some drivers who've gotten off to some very good starts. Looks like they're well farther along, so very yeah, so no, we won't have to worry about lap traffic.
Yeah, we're good for now. And yeah, isn't that part of our constitution, the right to arm bears?
Touche.
Okay. Anyway, no, the furthest cars back are Bellini and Jackson, but they're still 30 seconds ahead of the leaders. So everybody's doing a good job. Jackson obviously had a really great run in the Formula Fords and kept himself out of trouble, and not so much today, unfortunately. But I will say, Alish Pleva up 12 positions already, hard charger, and is moving to the front.
So making up some moves there is Alish Pleva. Pretty good start for that driver there. A standout star here in previous seasons in the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors. Currently slotted P14 as it stands right now, with some more gains to try and make between now and the end of it here tonight. As we jump back to the front of this field, kind of the front, sort of the front. Naselli still leads. Close enough to the front whereby we will call it the front. P2 for Naselli, still trying to fend off the challenges from Lasky and Samoa's right behind. We jump back to this battle involving Alish Pleva, now trying to make something work on Tom Gradwell, maybe down to turn number 6. Not a good spot to try and get a move done through there. You can go for a move, but in the process of that, you're either going to whack the curb and snap your spine, or you're going to send someone off into the shadow realm.
Yeah, absolutely. And I did see that Bellini has a meatball, so we'll catch this here as riding on board, coming around to the final corner. And let's see what happens. Is he going to spin that to the inside wall? No, he carries it too deep on the outside, and now he spins it to the inside wall. And and so that's his toe. Unfortunately, that's a very, very long toe from the front, and you see the wheel damage. Won't allow him to drive that straight, so he's going to head it back to the pits and get the car serviced, and we'll see if he comes back out to finish the race. He usually does, so it's he's pretty good about the finish. Oh, and so Samoa has just dropped down and into the pits, taken to the pits. So what's going on with Felix?
Whoa, Oh boy, that was some close quarter stuff as they had their way down into turn number 1, involving the likes of Joachim Ozbeck, Josh Soto, and Dirk Braun. They had their way down into the hairpin. Something is going on involving Felix Samoas for sure, as these racers still throwing haymakers at each other. They'll look through to try and figure out exactly what the problem is. Yeah, I'm not really sure what the conundrum is for Felix Samoas. It's going to take him out of contention for sure, as he's well farther back in P25 right now. Now outstanding black flags from the looks of it. The only sort of flag that we have up is the meatball for Michele Viglini as a result of that contact coming out of the final corner. So things going from bad to worse, even worser still for Samoas.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is, as you said, going to take him out of contention. And that's going to leave this 2-car battle here between Lasky and Naselli. And I think that the Lasky's going to be content to just kind of ride along. But they are still losing time to Panera, who is still setting hot laps up at the front. His gap is now up to 4 seconds over Naselli.
Keeping it strong and true at the front is Panero's. That's a big slowdown from Tom Gradwell. That's got to be what's going on. He is mightily slow. Yes, oh no! Contact being made. It's himself and Dirk Braun that come to blows out of the turn. So never mind the slowdown discussion. It's contact being made between the two of them. Some major damage on the front of Gradwell's car as well. Now Ozbek starting to drop back as a result of some drama as well. So getting in closer and closer to the midpoint of this race, and starting to see these racers throw some haymakers at each other. Contact into the turn, but the front of the field, we follow this battle for second between Naselli and Lasky. Now there were only 2. Panero, he's checked at. Now 4 seconds is the gap between Panero and Naselli in the race lead, and still not entirely sure what happened to Felix Samoas. I think he just naturally dropped down like a stone.
Yeah, not really sure. We obviously didn't see it on the broadcast. And so now it's we're hearing that might possibly be a drive-through penalty, which
potentially.
So all right, so we are hearing.
Was stopped in his pit stall, so
yeah, he was stopped in the pit stall. I would agree with that. So yeah, it looks like he's just exited the sim. So yeah, I was going to say Dirk Braun has dropped down now, and he's in that battle. For P2. Oh, there you go. And there is him coming out of the pits. So 7.5 second stop.
Connection issue as he was down in his pit stall or what. It looks like it's just a strategy call from Samoas. Looking at the time that he spent down pit lane, rather par for the course in terms of pit stops here in the series at 13.6 seconds in the pit stall. Is side by side for the lead in Masters. That's Fritcher and Reese battling for P5 in this race. Reese gonna run a little bit wide Ave turn 2. Gonna sacrifice his run a little bit into 3. So that will be a status quo for those racers. More pit stops going on with Matt Thompson now making the call to come down pit lane in the 333 machine. So haven't seen many racers make that call to pit. The only ones, in fact, that we've seen have any representative runs down in the pits was Felix Samoas and Paul Jackson, who actually spent far fewer time down pit lane than Samoas, albeit I'm not sure if Jackson came into the pits as the pit window was necessarily open there. But regardless, that's how it shakes out right now. I think it may have been a conscious strategy call from Samoas, and can't necessarily fault him for trying. In a series like the Spec Racer Fords, you can really throw something at the wall to see what sticks, as here comes a move from Antonio Rees, tries to get a load up into the turn, and they're still side by side on quarter exit. I thought we were going to see Rees take a one-way trip into the outside gravel, but he still holds on to it, slot in P6, but these two really starting to turn up the wick.
They really are, and yeah, Reese is really starting to put the pressure on Fritcher from behind for that Masters class lead. But Fritcher obviously done a really good job. Nice inside run there by Reese. Is going to take that move to the inside and make the pass. Fritcher run a little wide coming out of the final corner, and Reese is going to get that position. Let's see if Fritcher can fight back using the draft coming down the front straight.
And here we go, side by side to the braking zone. Fritcher looking for a move around the outside into turn number 2. You got to be commanding to make a move like that stick. He's going to back out of it potentially. There you can see practically millimeters of separation between the two. They had their way out of there. One good thing to raise about these Spec Racer Fords is how much the front and back of these cars kind of fit together like jigsaw puzzle pieces. You got the slope on the back end, you got the slope on the front end. It matches up rather well. If it was slightly less, compatible, I think we would have seen those two come to blows at the turn.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we're getting some information from producer Guido saying that he thinks that Samoa's pit was kind of interrupted by a blink as he was sitting in his pit stall, and it may have messed up our timing and scoring, but he has pitted, as well as Philip Berry, who was running in the Spec 2 lead. And now it appears that Berry has got a black flag for speeding on pit road. So that's going to take him back through the pits for a drive-through or a stop and hold. So, leading Spec 2 coming in for an early pit and then making the mistake in the pit lane is going to cost him probably a chance.
As I saw the two squabbling up right in front, that was Jorg Mani and Aleix Pleva. I thought we were going to see a dive from Pleva on Mani into turn number 11. They keep it single file for now, keyword being for now, but I think those two really got to start to squabble up soon. Phil Berry and the Cookie Monster car picking up the black flag. Unfortunate there, the Cookie Monster car busy with his obligations, being the Grand Marshal for the Brickyard 400 this year, not taking notes of the pit lane speed limit here at Laguna Seca. Tough break for him. He's got to drop down even farther than what he is right now. That was an off-track moment for Joachim Osbeck as he had his way through turn number 3. Could see that car dip some wheels off into the dirt. The Spec 1 racer in the 110 now dropping down into lucky number P13. Right behind those, Andre Favini gone off to a flyer of a start, up 14 spots from where he started in this race. Lots of drivers just cutting their way through the field like a hot knife through butter, scything their way through the field, even breaking out the thesaurus on that one. No, boy. Monty and Pleva playing with fire.
Yeah, that was very, very tight through there. I think Monty just maybe lifted just a touch. Pleva took it just flat out and almost contact there between the two cars. Oh, and we see a little contact there between Soto and Russell battling for P11, and Soto hanging on to that position for now. But you can see the battles are starting to heat up as we get, at the halfway point of the race. We'll start seeing our pit stops trickle in. Then we'll get the mad rush toward the end of their contact there, and that's going to bump Monty off the track, and he is going to say, "I've had enough." So, so Monty's gonna tow back to the pits and say, "I didn't come here for all that drama." So I'm gonna take my Spec Racer and I'm gonna go home.
Yeah, with how hard those two were throwing haymakers at each other, mainly just in the sense of Aleix Pleva throwing haymakers at Jorg Mani, I think he decided, you know what? I'm good. I'm no thanks. So he just decided to call it a day. Side by side with Braun and Bradshaw. That's a battle for P16 right now. Braun going to win out in that fight at the present moment. Your current leader in Spec 2. Spec 2 category, which is rather intriguing to keep our eyes on. That category always usually brings in some of the best racing action that we have here in the Weekend Warriors world. But rather interesting a rather interesting statistic for you here, Charles, as I forget that I can speak English. The lowest running Spec 2 winner at all throughout this season, actually Kevin Adrian, who finished P17 the opening race at Interlagos. Ever since then, the Spec 2 racers have been either firmly inside the top 10 or just barely out of it. Seeing a bit of a return of that Interlagos Spec 2, really starting to see that as Phil Berry has picked up another black flag. Man, things going from bad to worse for the driver of the Triple Eight. He's decided to call it a day. But yeah, the Spec 2 category still rather interesting to keep tabs on, even though they are a little bit farther behind.
Yeah, absolutely. No, they're still battling. It's every point for this matters. As the higher up, the more points you get, and doesn't matter what class you're in. So Dirk Braun running in 16th has taken the Spec 2 lead back after Barry's mistake in pits, but he's got a whole gaggle of cars behind. Wilkie, Mercedes, Geese. Mercedes has made a good run. He's up to P20, starting from 29th. And then, of course, Rocha and McStay, Thompson, Jackson, Crimser. So there's still a ton of Spec 2 drivers back there behind Dirk that are going to try and get up there and challenge him.
trying to get up to squabble up at the front of this field as we are past the halfway mark here. 23 minutes on the board, 17 left to go. Marco Pinero still leads over Maurizio Nazelli. The gas all throughout this field starting to balloon out a teeny tiny bit as we take a look at the moment involving Phil Berry. I think as soon as he picked up that black flag, he decided to call it a day. That was the second one he picked up, and he decided that it would be a second and final one here tonight. I can't necessarily blame him. He drops out of the race. Only 2 retirees from this race here at Laguna Seca. It's Phil Berry and Jurg Monti, both of which not really retiring because of damage, mainly just retiring because of frustration as Wilkie runs wide out of 6th. He's now got a fight on his hands with Matthew Murcia on the inside, trying to make something work side by side into the corkscrew. Here comes a move, potentially. Here comes the Thunder. There's Wilkie fighting back. He's got to jump his way back up into P19. Leonard Geese now looking to fight.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a nice battle there, right behind Adam Bradshaw, running in 18th. And these guys are, they want those points, and they're going to battle and see how far up the list they can get. As you can see the damage on Dirk Braun's car, obviously it's going to slow him down a bit, especially on this long straightaway. Just a little bit of aero damage on the front of the car. Nose kind of crumpled a little bit. And you've got Felix Samoas trying to work his way back up through the field, now taking that 16th position. So he's trying to climb that ladder, but obviously there's no way he's going to get back up to the front unless something disastrous happens, like maybe I'm hearing from Guido. I know he's already done a pit stop with that. But it's going to be difficult. I think he's too far back at this point. I don't know. We'll see.
There's still a lot of time left to go here in this race. So speaking of pit stops, Marco Pinero has come in for his from a comfortable gap. Nazelli going to join him down pit lane. Kane Lasky may also try and follow in suit. Will he in the 09? Survey says that he will not. So Kane Lasky going to stay out on the racetrack. Jeff Fritcher comes in from P2 in the Masters category and P6 overall. So are starting to see these racers make those runs to come down pit lane. Something's going on with Joaquin Mosbeck, the driver of the 110, getting struck by a falling anvil in the past few moments, but Pinero and Nazelli making that call to come down pit lane. As long as it's a clean stop from Pinero, I think it'll be a clean way to end this race for him as well. We follow Jason Green. He's now in P2 as a result of all this. Dirk Braun going to come into the pit. Samoas, of course, he came in for that stop a little bit earlier on, but I'm not really sure if it'll shake out well for him as we look a little bit farther up the road. Marco Pinero on pit exit right now. Nazelli on pit exit as well. A little bit screwy with the way they mark it off here because the pit exit isn't until the exit of turn number 2. Very long pit exit here at, I nearly said Phillip Island. That is about as far away from Laguna Seca as you could possibly get. But Samoa's going to come out in what would essentially be P3 of the other drivers who have come down pit lane. Pinero gets off and through the pits rather comfortably. Felix Samoas not really working out too well for him when it comes to that strategy call on day. Even for Maurizio Nazelli, didn't work out too great either. I won't look through to see what sort of pit stop times we saw from the likes of Marco Pinero. Marco Pinero rather on course at a 13.4 for the pit stop time, and Nazelli at a 14.4. So 1 more second down in the pit stall and about 2 seconds more down pit lane. May not seem like much, but it is a big gain as Lasky now going to join these racers in this pit cycle.
Yep. And here's Green as well, and we saw another car there coming in that was missing the front end. I think that might have been Molini. So, and here's Phil Berry coming in. So the pit area is starting to heat up. As Antonio Reese comes around and will take the overall lead of the race with 27 minutes gone. So within the next 4 minutes or so, next couple of laps, I think we'll see the rest of the field coming in. Josh Justice sitting there running in second. Josh having a good day today. He was up a few spots before the pit cycle, so having himself quite a good run.
As I'm having to respond to questions in the YouTube chat, very important one from Michelle Hess. Cheese Whiz or American? I always grew up as an American. as an American cheese kind of guy, so that's my 2 cents on the matter. As Nazelli has jumped in front of Kane Lasky as a result of that pit cycle, so the both of them not having the shortest run down pit lane, to say the very least, while compare times. Lasky actually rather short there, 11.2 seconds down in his pit stall and 44.2 seconds down pit lane altogether. That's a bit on the short end for Lasky. I may, if I was the driver of the 09 car, I may possibly, perhaps, be a little bit worried about fuel come time for the final 12 minutes of this race, which we are now officially in. That may be a storyline to keep tabs on in reference to those two battling.
Yeah, and I talked with Kay, and we talked about this a little bit earlier. He came in as Antonio Reese is coming to the pits. Joined me in the broadcast booth last week for the SRG F3 race. Did a great job. I think he did a better job in the second seat than I did in the first. But he is very much one to really monitor his fuel. So he tries to do as much fuel saving at the early part of these races as he can. So I feel like he's probably got a pretty good number, a pretty good handle on what number he needs. I think the one that concerns me is Felix Moas was only in the pits for 7.5 seconds, but we've said that might be a timing issue. So it might have been a little bit longer than that. So, but he is a little further down in the order as we're looking. He's got about a 4-second gap up to Lasky. Yeah, as Guido is explaining to me that you can't really run the pit lane in 19 seconds without getting a penalty. Oh, as we see a little contact there, Jason Perry and Matthew Mercier duking it out. They're still have a few cars left to come into the pits. I see. Looks like 6 or so that have yet to pit.
Yeah, so just a few more drivers, a sprinkling of drivers who have yet to come down pit lane. I will say there is a way to go down pit lane in just 19 seconds here at Laguna Seca. One word: rockets. So it's very, very, very hard to try and do that with a regular spec racer Ford, as Mercia and Wilkie side by side into 6th. Oh boy! And here comes Jason Perry, gonna try and pick up the pieces after those drivers nearly came to blows. He's there after those two chew each other out, and now he's gonna try and pick up the crumbs. Here comes Wilkie fighting back on the high side into the corkscrew. He's gonna go. Contact being made side to side, wheel to wheel, and door to door. Justice Soto and Russell come in at the front of the field, gonna give the race lead back to Marco Pinero. But that's Wilkie and Mercia losing it as well. Jason Perry gonna be there to try and make that move work. There you go. And there you can see Wilkie having to check up a little bit. Holy cow, these drivers trying to give me a freaking panic attack today.
That was some really good battling through there. That was a nice move by Mercia on the inside through the kink. But Josh stayed strong on the outside. Let the racetrack come to him and was able to hang on to the position. Then they both made a mistake coming out of Rainy Curve, went wide, and Jason Perry was able to sneak through on the inside and take over that spot, picking up 2. And then Wilkie says, you know what? I think it's a good time to go in and pit and get my fuel. Let these tires cool off just a little bit.
So Sean McStay and Josh Wilkie both down pit lane right now. So that will be just a few more drivers now left to make that call to come down pit lane. I will get that exact number for you right about now. The exact amount of cars left to pit is a big round 1. Matthew Mercia is yet to come down. Actually, I believe Matthew Mercia yet to come into the pit. Jason Perry has come down pit lane. 13.6 seconds was his time stopped in his pit stall. 56.6 down in pit lane altogether. So Matthew Mercia in that 780 car yet to make that call to come down pit lane. I had to double check because I feel like my eyes were slightly deceiving me, as they have done for the 20 and a half years that I've been here on planet Earth. Yeah, I'll tell you what, one time I got glasses with lenses that were so thick you could replace them with glass Coke caps. I don't know if I thought they were exactly the same. Here's a fight, maybe got a flare up involving Matt Thompson and Bradshaw up the hill into the corkscrew. Mercia making that call to come down pit lane as a battle for P3 of the Masters racers going to tense up.
Yeah, it's still battle everywhere, and we see Mercia's into the pits now. Looks like he is going, let's see, I think he's going to relinquish the Spec 2 lead as Thompson, Braun, Geese come around, but Thompson looks like he's going to inherit the Spec 2 class lead, but Dirk Braun right on his tail, closing in. So that battle, I don't think is quite done yet, as we see now Leonard Geese getting around Dirk Braun. So maybe Dirk Braun, I saw that his car had been repaired during his pit stop. So we'll see if he's maybe having some issues, or maybe having to do some fuel saving, or is just maybe struggling a little bit on the track. And I've got to throw this out there, since I think you guys were talking about cheesesteaks. Is it heresy to put provolone on a cheesesteak?
As we look at these racers running around, I think there may have been a spin a little bit farther behind.
No.
Oh boy, these drivers still trying to get a grips with the challenge of this track. So I think it may have been, was that Viglini that had that spin there? Gotcha. So it was Michele Viglini. Let's take a look at this for the driver of the 319 car. Not had a good run up to this point here in the race. Really tough, the challenges around this track. It's a spin out of turn number 3, and around he goes. Simple spin, avoids the tire barriers, but is going to have to get that car spun back around in the right direction to try and rejoin this race without losing out on a disturbing amount of time. We jump back to this battle with Leonard Geese and Dirk Braun, now still racing hard. This is a battle for P2 of those Spec 2 racers, as Matt Thompson a little bit farther up the road, only 3.3 seconds, which is not a 100% insurmountable gap, but as long as Thompson can keep it clean, he will be in the cruising lane to win it in Spec 2 here. Yeah,
he's in a good position at this point with only about 6 minutes left. So you see Eric Luke looking to the inside around Andrea Favini. I think he's going to get that position, and that's going to put him up to P13. So nice recovery drive by Luke. Obviously had that early spin, early drama, and has done a really good job of making up as many positions as he could. But obviously Favini having a great run as well, up 14 spots. Just one off the hard charger. Alex Pleva still up 15 positions. And looks like that might be as far as he's going to be able to climb today, as he's got a nice 7-second gap up to Josh Soto. I don't think he's going to be able to make that up before this race is done.
Yeah, so getting to the point where we are seeing those gaps become more and more insurmountable, is side by side between Geese and Braun. That's down into turn number 5, and it looks like it will be Leonard Geese holding on to that P18 spot overall right now. Should note that Marco Panera-Nozelli and Kane Lasky, oh, my apologies, they're getting a little bit gassy at the end of this broadcast. These drivers, though, really starting to gas themselves up and trying to figure out any sort of way to get past their competitors in the final 5 minutes of this race. If these drivers don't take it easy, though, between Leonard Geese and Dirk Braun, look at the 349. That's Peterson Rocha there in the Golf liveried car, currently slotted in P20. About a 1-second gap, which is by no means a massive one here in these Spec Racing Fords. Frankly, a couple of bad corners and some side-by-side racing for the two drivers in front, and Rocha could just reel them in, catch that draft, and close up in a heartbeat.
Yeah, it takes basically one battle through a corner, and that 1-second gap is gone. So he'll battle and try and hang in there, and see if he can make that time up. As we're now looking at Jason Perry running in P9, Soto running in P10, and this battle is heating up as well. Soto having himself a bit of a run. But Perry's done a good job as well. So both those, well, I say that Perry's down a position, but Soto up 5. But once again, the way this race started, I think to only be down 1 position is probably a pretty good position to be in. As we're now on board here with Kane Lasky running in 3rd. Nice, he's got a gap up to Naselli, 5.5 seconds, and now Samoa's is breathing down his neck, looking to see if he can take that final spot on the podium. We have an incident here with Lasky.
Oh, let's see.
Yep.
Lost out on a lot of time according to Guido. It's a lockup down into the corkscrew, runs off the track. Nothing too majorly horrific, but just a big loss of time there from Kane Lasky, has brought him into the crutches of Felix Samoa. As here we go. The battle got flare up right at the end of this race. I believe, unless I'm very much mistaken, they're coming to 2 to go next time by in the case of Panero. But Lasky and Samoa's going to treat us to a good battle at the end of this race. About 2 2/10 separate them. They had their way off through turn number 4. Kane Lasky and Samoa's looking to battle hard. This is also a battle with championship contention as well when it comes to those points, which are oh so important as we round off the first half of this season here today. There's been some drama involving Dirk Braun. Let's take a look at side-by-side racing with himself and Leonard Gies. Very shallow on entry, locks up the rears big time into the turn, swapping ends. Big moment there from Dirk Braun. That will cost him big time in that Spec 2 category. Your race winner last time out. Gonna lose that big time here today as side-by-side. That's Samoa's and Lasky side-by-side into the corkscrew, and there he goes. Samoa's up into third.
Yeah, good move by Samoa's. Late braking into the corkscrew, able to make the pass, get it done, and now they'll still be battling. I don't think Kane's just quite done with that yet, but I think it's going to be 2 to go at the line. Yep, 2 to go at the line. So we will get the white flag next lap as Pinero continues to lead. Gap is starting to drop a little bit, but I think Pinero's probably taking a little bit easier. His lap time has dropped off just a little bit, but he's still got a 4.5-second lead.
Yeah, still holding on to a comfortable margin. As long as he can keep it clean with the final 2 laps of this race, it'll pretty much be Marco Pinero's win for the taking. That's a bit of a jiggle out of the turn for Felix Samoes. Not going to hurt him out too badly there, but it's still close for that battle for third. Pinero, though, this would be a very good win for him. It'd be win number 3 for him on this season, and his second win in a row after winning last time out at SRF. Let's take a look at this move, though, to see how Felix Samoes was able to get it done. Pulls alongside, utilizing that draft and just getting a good run out of turn number 6. And simple stuff there. Nothing crazy, nothing wild, nothing too flashy. Just a simple commanding move down the inside into the corkscrew. Works out well for Samoa's, and he's now starting to check out with about a second, 0.8 of a second, the gap between these two now.
Yeah, he really is. He is starting to put some speed on the car and get a gap back to Lasky as we see a battle here between Jason Green and Antonio Reese. Antonio Reese obviously leading the Masters class with a nice 6.5-second gap over Fritcher. And then Green just kind of riding out the string. Be happy with the P5, and we're going to be white flagged this time by.
Yeah, so one more lap of racing action and one more lap around for Marco Pinero to just cap off an incredibly dominant performance here at Laguna Seca. Kane Lasky's come down pit lane, and I think part of the reason why we start to see that driver drop off when it came to pace was down to the fact that in that one and only pit stop he has taken thus far, it was 11.3 seconds. It doesn't matter how you slice it, that is not a lot of fuel to end off one of these races. Things going from bad to worse for another P3 runner in a class as Dirk Braun has picked up a black flag. He's got to drop down from P20 well farther back. I think there may have been some sort of extracurricular drama there as well, as he is well farther back of the drivers that he was once pretty much on top of. So Lasky going to exit out, so just barely inside the top 15, I believe, as here we go. That's Russell and Eric Luke battling hard into turn number 2. That's a battle for 11th. Andre Vivini there to pounce in case these drivers come to blows. Lasky exits the pits right behind these racers. Here they go, tussling side by side into 3. And looks like that's a running wide moment there for Scott Russell. Gonna lose out some time, but Andre Favini, the hard charger in this race, actually no, not the hard charger, the second hard charger, Zalace Pleva, he's gained 16 spots. Favini now joins him in that regard with a move on Scott Russell. He may have potentially had a slowdown there, that or he just decides to jump out of the way. But at the front of the field, Marco Pinero rounds his way out of the final corner, and it's going to be his 3rd victory of this season. The Italian is always the force to be reckoned with in these SRS, and here at Laguna Seca, he gets a job done comfortably over Maritza Nazelli in P2. Felix Samoa is going to finish in a distant 3rd, and a race, Charles, that saw it all. We had some moments of drama, we had some moments of good side-by-side racing action, some strategy, some Thompson trophies, and also some weird stuff going on from time to time as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Great race. Lots of drama, as you mentioned. Some really hard battling up front as well as in the mid-pack, and some really great drives from some cars that were probably a little bit off in qualifying. But when race came around, a good catch by Favini there to hang on to that car coming out of the final corner. Is he going to lose that spot? Looks like he's going to lose both of those spots as both Pleva and Lasky get through.
Dirk Braun's not going to serve that black flag. Sorry about Jen, Charles. I just realized that for the 525.
Yep. So that's going to be a 40-second penalty added on at the end of the race for Dirk. It's going to drop him that much further down the field. So not a day. Started off really strong, and not a day to remember for Dirk, as Thompson is going to take the Spec 2 win today.
I will say, though, slight commiserations, potentially. The fact he didn't make that call to come down pit lane. Otherwise, that 40-second penalty would have been even worse than it already is. It's still a kick in the shins, but, you know, it's a slightly less terrible kick in the shins. You're comparing a kick in the shins with a bruised shin to a normal one. It's still going to hurt, but it won't hurt anywhere near as bad. That's Paul Jackson coming across the line. Looks like that car is still running in full, so I'm going to be a little bit slow coming across it. Now we'll round out your finishers as I bump into the pop filter on the microphone there. That must have sounded deafening, so I apologize for that. As here we go, they're lining up for the jump. I have a feeling it'll be down into the corkscrew. We already got the conga line forming here, and I am absolutely terrified / horrified to know what sort of demons are going to take place here.
Yep. Well, it looks like everybody's kind of lining up here as we get even a little reversing action, trying to give each other some room. But they're stacked up. You know, we've had 40 minutes of racing, but they're going to kind of bump draft as they're going down into the corkscrew here. So that's interesting. So we'll see as so apparently maybe Jason Green out of gas, so they're pushing him down in the corkscrew.
Da, 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 da. Oh boy, okay. We got more. Oh no, they spun him. Okay, I feel it was too unstable. It was like watching an Amtrak train. It was just too unstable. I knew something was gonna bust eventually. That's Leonard Geese, very slow as well. I feel like someone's gonna ballpark it here. Oh, up in the. Oh, there we go. Oh, Wilkie got caught in the fence. Oh,
wow.
Oh, that hurt my nuts just looking at it.
Yeah, as we see the car upside down there in the fence. Good old Josh as Rocha piles in as well. So we've wrecked our cars again today, as it always happens here at the end of the Spec Racer race. And like we had, was that Eric Luke that was playing ramp for these guys? Is that what that was? So you get a little bit of air on their way in. But you know, just all fun. Let off the steam at the end of the race. So, you know, we love seeing it.
I don't know who that is. Just caught upside down in the damn fence. Yeah, you can just see. Alrighty.
There you go.
We like to have a good time here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Is that someone stuck in the time? I'm not sure what in the world we're seeing. We got drivers writing cursive, probably telling us to go screw ourselves in some sort of foreign dialect. The smoke coming off the cars as well. Oh boy. So we're going to take a look at the results here. I think you're going to need a lot of mothers, polish, waxes, and cleaners to try and clean up those cars after that moment into the corkscrew. But Marco Panera wins it at the end of today. Bridson Nizelli slot in P2. Felix Samoas will round out your podium in third, as I have to blank out my iRacing feed on the production feed so I don't see the just pile of smoke in the background. I'll let you know that Jason Green will finish in fourth. And from Antonio Reese, your winner in the Masters category in P5. Jeff Fritcher finishes right behind in sixth. There'll be Josh Justice in seventh. Josh Soto in P8. Jason Perry in ninth. Alace Flava gonna round out your top 10.
Yeah, starting and finishing in 11th, Eric Luke. Good recovery by Eric. Scott Russell finishes in 12th. Kane Lasky with the late race pit stop finished in 13th. Andrea Favini in 14th. Tom Gradwell rounding out your Masters podium in 15th. Adam Bradshaw in 16th. Matt Thompson, Spec 2 winner today, finishing in 17th. Leonard Geese, Spec 2 P2 in 18th. And Peterson Rocha in P3 for the Spec 2 class 19th. Josh Wilkie rounds out the top 20. Mario Crimser in 21st. Sean McStay in 22nd. Paul Jackson 23rd. Dirk Braun in 24th. Michele Volini in 25th. Matthew Mercier in 26th. Joaquin Osbeck in 27th. Phil Berry in 28th. Jorg Motti in 29th, and Kurt Nunez finishing in 30th did not take the start.
And so those are your results at the end of a rather festive day of racing action here in the Weekend Warriors. It's bad when I have to break out the slide whistle. Alrighty, I hope that gets picked up on the microphone. It doesn't just clip it out immediately, because it is disgustingly loud. Guido letting me know that. Unfortunately, in his own words, it was picked up on the microphone. So there we go. My job here is complete. But Charles, we got some drivers looking to have a chat with us here at the end of this broadcast. So I think I'm going to get things up and rolling by... I'm trying to think of who exactly I want to drag in. I think I'll bring in Jason Green to have a chat here at the end of all of this. Jason joining us here on the broadcast booth. Jason, welcome in. At the end of it all here for you today, you walk away with a P3 or actually P4 result. My graphics were deceiving me for a brief moment. So P4 at the end of it here at Laguna Seca. Happy to talk us through it.
Yeah, to kind of a typical thing for me. Eric spun off turn 5, cost me the draft to the lead, which I was not going to make up because Marco and Maurizio were absolutely flying out there. So yeah, it was just just kind of a reset to pretend that I was in the lead, and the cars a couple seconds back were chasing me for the win. So trying to keep myself from losing concentration, just running by myself a little bit. Very wild pit entry. Had to pass Michele, who had damage going into the pits. Thank you to him for backing out of that. Still cost me a couple seconds, and then I had Antonio hot on my tail for the last part of the race. So that was very intense.
Yeah, I can imagine it was rather wild here at Laguna Seca. This track, not really one where you can take a rest either, because even the straightaways have some turns baked into it. So I want to ask you about how it was trying to keep a level head throughout these races here.
Yeah, no, that's definitely key at Laguna. It's the track itself can infuriate you, either with how difficult it is to drive, or the presence of off track so close to the edge of the track. So yeah, keeping a level head here is definitely key, because it's an attrition track for sure. You'll pick up positions just by other people making mistakes, as long as you can keep a level head, like you said. So yeah, it's definitely key, just to try to keep everything in context, and kind of just focus on your own race.
And saying focused on your own battles throughout this can certainly make or break your races here at Laguna, and worked out well for you, finishing P4 at the end of this race. Looking ahead, though, to next week, Sebring on the Air National layout. That is going to be quite a lot different than this race here today. So what are your thoughts heading there in 1 week's time?
Oh boy, yeah, I hate Sebring with a passion. I'm not because it's a bad track necessarily, just because I'm horrible at it. It just doesn't make sense to me. So I anticipate being wildly off pace, and yeah, probably complaining a lot. So you probably won't be talking to me next week.
Well, look forward to hearing what you say on the Racing Line podcast a couple of days after that, though, because I'm sure that will be rather interesting to hear. But Jason, we'll let you give my thanks or shout outs before we let you go.
Yeah, shout out to Adam and Stevie, my fellow hosts of the Racing Line podcast. You can catch every week on Tuesday. And shout out to everybody who showed up today. We had a pretty stacked grid. A lot of people that showed up today that we haven't seen this season, like Alish, Maurizio, I think, has only done a couple races. So yeah, like a super stacked grid, which we usually tend to have here at this track. So yeah, shout out to everybody who's here.
And thank you as well for joining us here in the commentary booth, Jason. Well done on the P4, and looking forward to seeing the highlight reels that you put together. There are some good races throughout this weekend, so I think you'll have some material to work with for the Racing Line this upcoming week.
Looking forward to watching it.
And take care, Jason. Have a good one.
See ya.
And that right there was Jason Green, your P4 finisher at the end of this race. And Charles, I will let you have the next interview.
Yeah, let's bring in Matt Thompson, our Spec 2 winner. Since I spoke with Antonio in the previous race, I'll let you have him for this one. And Matt, congratulations. Man, that Spec 2 battle today was pretty intense.
Yeah, it was rough back there in the field.
Yeah, I mean, normally we see a couple outliers of Spec 2 guys that are kind of creeping up in the top 10, but for whatever reason today, basically every Spec 2 driver was P16 to like P25, and it just made for some really intense racing amongst you guys.
Yeah, it was busy back there. Lots of passing, lots of draft up, people drafting up. I decided to pit early and get out of it, and I think that paid off.
Yeah. So what was your main key that allowed you to take the class victory today?
Just that I was in a pack back there, and we were getting slowed. We were getting slowed up into several of the corners. So as soon as the pit window opened, I took it and just got clean track and laid down laps.
Man, there you go. That worked out. So I mean, yeah, because you basically just kind of stayed out of trouble. We had some other drivers that were wanting to fight through corners, and pretty quiet day for you. Is I don't think we called your name out except to say that, hey, you're leading the class. So that's a good day at the office, I think.
Yep.
All right. So next week, Sebring, the international layout. So what are your thoughts about that?
Well, that should be interesting in this car. It'll be heavy draft, so we'll have to see how that works out.
All right, Matt. Well, congratulations again, and we'll let you give any thanks or shout-outs and let you go celebrate your class victory.
Thanks to Stevie for putting on the league, Jason for doing all the incidents. Big thanks to Ed Sancinelli and Frito Sport for all the work they've done with me over the last couple of years. That's it. Thanks you guys for putting on the broadcast.
There you go. All right, Matt, congratulations. Thanks, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
And that right there was Matt Thompson, your winner in the Spec 2 category at the end of this race here this evening. And time for one more interview, and we've got the Masters winner at the end of this race, Antonio Reese, now joining us here in the broadcast booth. Antonio, welcome in. The immediate call, boring, from Guido. Come on, man. Give Antonio the shot. Antonio, welcome back here into the broadcast booth for like the 1,000th time thus far this season. How was the Spec Racer Ford race?
Yeah, it was very exciting, a little bit scary, but I was wondering because I have a very bad qualification, and then I know this track is a very drafty track in this car as well, so I was expecting to have a good race. Somehow I could manage to keep the car moving in one piece until the end.
And you were able to keep it clean all the way through to the finish of the race. I want to ask you about the challenges of running around this track in this car.
Yeah, the most challenge for me was not to hit the car in front of me. So always racing very close with the guys. And so, also the corkscrew was a little bit kind of a one of the things that could be wrong if you just do something that shouldn't do. But other than that, I think it was not a big problem. I know the track, I know the car, so it was not a big deal.
It was still a pretty good race for you here at Laguna Seca, but looking ahead, 1 week's time, Sebring. That'll be a very fun race. I'm a fan of that track. I know Jason Green, Mr. JG2, is not a fan of it, but are you a fan of that place? And if so, are you looking forward to it?
I am. I am a fan of Sebring. I think it's a little bumpy, but since it's an airfield and I love airplanes, I always feel good there.
It's funny. I remember tuning in to when you were on the Racing Line podcast a couple of weeks ago, and I remember there was this whole talk there talking about the getting a crew together on Flight Simulator. The one time that I've had a properly good landing in my flight sim career was actually landing at the airport right on the outside of Sebring, funnily enough. So
nice.
I can say I'm with you there, Antonio.
All right, let's go. Thank you.
So, we'll let you give any thanks or shout outs. You probably have a script ready for these already, but we'll let you run through the script here at the end of this interview.
Yeah, I don't know who is the sponsor, but I'm going to start with a sponsor. No sponsor? Okay, right. Wow. So thanks for Stevie. Appreciate that. And as well, I will change this time. So I'm going to say my thanks to my family and supporting me on the race, and all the for you, the broadcast, of course, especially and for the viewers, for the drivers, and yeah, thank you very much.
And thank you as well for joining us here in the commentary booth, Antonio. Well done on another good result this season, and looking forward to seeing you hit the track at Sebring next week.
Yeah, I hope to see you again as well, guys.
Let's take care, Antonio.
Okay, take care.
And that right there was Antonio Reyes. I nearly followed him off into the interview waiting area, so I will leave that be and make sure I don't jump out of the broadcast booth suddenly and violently. But Charles, another great race here at Laguna Seca, but certainly the story of dominance for Marco Panera here today. Final thoughts before we wrap things up.
Yeah, you know, anytime Marco is in the field, he is going to be kind of the guy to beat. And it's, you know, no surprise that he goes off with a win. Naselli obviously as well does a great job every time he's out here. So yeah, really great race. Love that Spec 2 battle. Those guys really put on a good show and fought hard. So congrats to Matt Thompson for getting that class victory. And so looking forward to Sebring next week. Love the track. It's going to be a fun race. Obviously a little bit draft heavy. But I think that makes for some really good. We'll see some really good passing, especially through turn 1 and through sunset. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a great race.
Yeah, we're now past the bell curve here for Season 3 of 2025. Also, again, towards the end of summer as well here, at least on the East Coast of the U.S. And to all of you who've caught the action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting throughout the first half here of Season 3, thank you so very much for tuning in. But hey, you shouldn't tune out because we've got some awesome racing action to look forward to in the week that lies ahead. This upcoming Tuesday, you'll be able to see the action from the Sim Racers Group F4 Series. They'll be running at this exact same racetrack. Their homecoming. It's actually today at the IndyCar festivities there at Laguna Seca, the crew based out there in California going to visiting this exact same racetrack this upcoming Tuesday with those F4s. For the F3s, though, gonna be at Zandvoort this upcoming week. That's always a good track, and those F3s, some of my favorite cars in the Sims. I think we're in for a really good one there. And then this upcoming week, we're pretty much in the mood for bumps of all kind. It doesn't matter what it is, we're in the mood for bumps this upcoming weekend here on SMB. You'll be able to see the bumpy street course action from the Formula V Weekend Warriors running at Long Beach on Saturday. Later on that night, you'll be able to see the bump and runs going on with the street stocks action from Ron's Race Nights week number 7 at Lanier, and then the Formula Fords and Spec Racer Fords with the FFs running at Long Beach on Sunday and the SRFs running shortly thereafter at Sebring. So it gives you a good reason to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the racing action. That's not even it for the action coming up here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. As coming up in a couple of weeks' time, we'll be able to broadcast United Sim Racing Association's Sizzling Sebring 180. That'll be a 3-hour-long endurance sports car race that'll be broadcasted here on Slow Motion Broadcasting on August the 9th at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Gives you a very good reason to stay tuned here to SMB so you don't miss out on any of the racing action. But as for this broadcast here for week number 6 of the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors here at Laguna Seca, that will do it. So for myself, Ron Maunz, Charles Boshell joining me in the commentary booth, and Guido Marzucchi doing a wonderful job working on the cameras and the graphics in the virtual production hauler, I say thank you also very much for tuning into this broadcast here on Slow Motion Broadcasting tonight, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not too distant future.